Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you? Nice to see you guys.
It's nice to see you too. We're doing all right. It's just trying to make the best of a very unusual, and I mean, in some ways, I have a lot of like hopes that people are gonna maybe decide to be different in a lot of different capacities. So I have like a very hopeful side of myself that exists, and then a very, very sad side of myself that exists.
For sure.
Yeah. So this is nice to like come online and see a friendly face and get to like share and chat and just talk about art for a little bit of time. Yeah, I do love that.
Totally.
How are you?
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really fun.
Yeah, you're like one of the, we're trying to branch away from just printmakers. So for those of you that don't know what this is, Kyle and I run an artist residency called Sparkbox in Prince Edward County. And upon lockdown, we were really trying to figure out like how can we keep engaging with the community that we have built and that we like love and cherish from our 10 years of running the residency, and also keep sharing the work that people have made or are making, that that's been our whole life, is connecting with artists and sharing the work that people are making. So it felt pretty dramatic to all of a sudden not have that at all. So we decided to start these little online chats with people that have stayed with us or that we've worked with in the past in some capacity. And it started with mostly printmakers because we exchange a lot of art. So it was like friends that we know that run print shops, and we were like looking at the prints, the epic print collections that we have. So we're excited that so we're reaching out beyond our printmaker network. Oh, and we just got like a slow connection warning, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you guys are a little bit enough for me, but mostly it's just like a split-second delay.
Okay. So if you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do, that would be awesome.
Sure. My name is Arden Wray. I'm a photographer. I work in a few different areas. I do mostly portraiture though, and I like working in documentary as well. I also work for a bunch of commercial clients, so doing some fashion stuff and editorial portraiture and a few other things along those lines.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Your work is beautiful.
Thank you.
So we have had the luxury of being photographed by Arden, and it was really comfortable and nice. I mean, we don't get photographed a lot because like it makes me very nervous, but yeah, it was like fun, and you're just a very light person to be around. I don't know how else to describe you. You're like,
that's nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I miss being there. I wish we could come.
I know.
That would be a great place to be right now. It's so heavenly where you guys are.
Yeah, it is like a nice kind of like in the middle of farm fields bubble.
Yeah, there's a very good buffer from everybody else around us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to be welcoming people back anytime soon, or how's that looking?
We canceled everybody for this upcoming year, and it looks like sometime in 2021 is when we will maybe start booking people again. But I think it'll be dependent on a vaccine and kind of what the state of the border is and stuff.
Yeah.
Our business is totally up in flames. But
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's tough. I mean, we really cater to emerging artists, as you know, and a lot of artists, even with very established careers, are in a super precarious place right now. And then also, as you know, we have like such an intimate space. Like it's social distancing in our house would be literally impossible.
Absolutely.
Like everything is shared. It's and that's what we love about it. It would be so weird to all of a sudden have this like really strict schedule where people had to like be alone in the kitchen cooking by themselves, without, I don't know, it just took away everything that we're about to structure anything like that. And I know myself, and I have like such high anxiety about sickness and germs, and I have a lot of people in my life that are immunocompromised, that very, like, most of my family.
Oh, wow.
And so I know that I would just be so worried that I wouldn't see them at all in any capacity. It would just be too hard. Yeah,
Absolutely.
so,
Makes sense.
sadly. But let's talk about fun things. Let's talk about art that we like. So we have 3 arts.
3 arts.
And hopefully you have 3 arts.
I do. I have 3 arts.
So, if you want to share first, that's great. Or if you want us to go first to kind of like start us off, that's also fine. We'll let you pick what you prefer.
What if we go back and forth?
Yeah. We'll do one, you'll do
okay.
one, we'll do one, you'll do one. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I could start. I'll say, you know, I know it's a little bit different, I guess, because like you were saying, you've been talking to mostly printmakers and a lot of people in their studios. So I'm obviously not in a studio. I'm in my house in, you know, isolation for the most part, still in Toronto in my apartment. And because I'm a photographer, I mean, some people have studios, but I don't have the luxury of having a studio. So most of my work is done at that table if I'm not shooting, and that sort of functions as my workspace. And I realized it was interesting when you reached out that I actually don't own a ton of contemporary art. But
that's what makes it interesting.
I guess it's a little different, right? But I realized that my version of a flat file is basically, I have like a big box that lives in a special drawer for it under my bed of artwork that I've collected that I've like never found a home for, never framed, but stuff that I've carried around with me and added to. It's gotten thicker and thicker since I was like, I don't even know, 19.
Yeah.
So I dug through that and I thought I would share a couple of artists who are in that flat file. And then also you can kind of see it behind me. I'll do like a proper here. I collect vintage oil paintings. So I've got a bunch of them up here on the wall. And then maybe I'll take you on like a little walk. I have, they're everywhere. So that is what I just have tons of. Like that's just like against the wall because there's nowhere for them to live. So I just really like this kind of artwork. And I realized this is actually something that runs through everything I'm going to share. Is a lot of these that I get drawn to as the oil paintings are ones that were actually, like I have a lot of unframed oil on board or oil on canvas. And there are a lot of things that were made as part of like a painting or drawing class. So they're sort of like, yeah, like they're not professional artists. I mean, some of them probably maybe were as well, but for most of them, that's kind of what I'm drawn to is like the naive style.
Like, are you talking like Bob Ross kind of style? Like...
I mean, maybe, but more like this guy is a great example.
Oh, he's great.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's so cool, but like something like this too. So it's, I think a lot of people who are maybe doing like a figure drawing or painting class.
Yeah.
A lot of them are
like those are clearly studies.
Exactly.
Like they definitely look 100% like a figure drawing class.
Totally. This top one was actually done by my great grandfather.
Oh, really?
Yeah, who like drove a streetcar, was not a professional painter, but was obviously very talented. But I tend to be drawn to that kind of, I think, I mean, those aren't outsider art, I would say, but the other ones I'm going to show you do fall under the category of outsider art. And so I just kind of realized it's been interesting for me, having been invited to consider something I maybe wouldn't have as a big picture thing, that the work that I react to the most tends to be potentially just a different point of view, like not necessarily somebody who would have identified themselves confidently as an artist.
Yeah, I think that's really lovely though. And I think that like, I love that kind of work as well. A lot of the times, like when we're like going through, I go to a lot of yard sales, not this year, but, and yeah, you find those kinds of treasures of like somebody has been like carrying around their grandma's, you know, like a little side project that she did to like bring some joy and happiness into her life. And I think that that also has so much meaning to it, you know, like that art can be this escape or a place to I don't know, like let go of your inhibitions and just have some freedom of expression. And I don't think you have to be an artist to enjoy and play in that space.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and it's kind of fun with that stuff too, just to figure out where it's like, well, who was sitting for them? Like this portrait of the guy that I love in his like cool tuxedo look. Right? It's like, I don't know, was that a family member? Was that somebody's partner? Was that a self-portrait? I have no context.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, it could have been a professional commission that they scrapped because it's not finished, that one. Right? Or maybe they intentionally did that, but I kind of don't think so. Right? Like the way his suit is finished looks to me like...
I don't know, I love that though.
I know, I love it too. I was so smitten with him. I literally gasped. I found him at a flea market in New York and like carried him around with me, nervously.
I figured out what makes me feel weird about him. So like his hair part
is
like way over here.
But it's also, we're getting like a backwards version of him.
That's true.
Yeah,
but
his
it
hair
is
part's
also still
totally
intense.
opposite.
Yeah. All right, so you have 3 things that are not these ones that are on the wall.
I do if you want them, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Let's start with 1.
Okay. So here is what I was describing as kind of my version of a flat file. It's basically this big box that was mailed to me. So let's see who comes out first, and we'll just start with them. Okay. So these are, I mean, you guys would know better than me. This is not my medium, but I believe they're woodcut prints.
They look like woodcuts.
Yeah. So this is a really cool artist that I found outside New Orleans, who, his name is John Preble. Or I don't know if you would say Preble really or Preble. But he basically, he has a spot called the Abita Springs Mystery House, is how I found them. I don't know if I want to like, should you see like me or them or both? We'll just try and go back and forth maybe.
That sounds good. Yeah, these look like relief for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's a really interesting artist. He has a spot called the Abita Springs Mystery House, which is outside of New Orleans across the Pontchartrain Causeway, which is actually like the biggest, I think it's like the biggest freestanding bridge in the world, or I don't know what the record is, but it's this crazy drive, long body of water. And then you get to Abita Springs, and he basically has taken over this amazing house. And you see a few examples of this with outsider art, I think, kind of similar spaces. But he also has called it the UCM, like the UCM Museum is what he called it. But I guess it's like, I think it's Uncommon Objects and Mini Town or something like that is what it stands for, UCM. But that's the artist who has set up this incredible space. It's basically this rambling compound with like trailers and all these installations, and he's made it like a mini town. But he features specifically Creole history and characters and New Orleans culture as well. And so with these are all famous New Orleans musicians.
Oh,
so he's got, Lee Dorsey, and I just love the look of them. Like, I think they're so striking and amazing. So this is something we've wanted to find a home for years and then never have. Professor Longhair and Bo Diddley.
Yeah, I mean, relief is so nice for that, like, really harsh contrast of light and dark, and it's such a good portraiture medium, I find. Yeah, I really like it.
It looks amazing. I mean, I hadn't seen anything quite like that before, but I just love the look of them, and I love the vibe of that place, and it reminds me of being there. So
yeah, New Orleans is so great.
He's
Sweet.
He's
I
a
like
really
those a
interesting
lot.
character. Thanks. They're cool.
So our first share is going to be backwards.
Yeah.
Damn it. So it says, what makes an object queer? And it's all going to be backwards. It's a little zine. It's hand screen printed. I feel very lucky that we have one because I know that there aren't any of the hand screen printed books left. This is done by an artist named Jamie Q, and they are based in Ontario. And Jamie was one of the first Emerging Artist Award winners.
Yeah, she was like maybe with us like 8 years ago or something.
Oh, wow.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah. So they
February 2011. It's
2011.
Wow.
So they came and stayed with us and worked on, they had already made all of this sort of drawings for this. So it's only a week, our Emerging Artist Award. So prep is very important, and Jamie is very organized and super good at like time management and having a good work schedule. So I don't even know how many colors this screen print is, but the whole book was made screen printed during the residency and then bound together. It was a really limited edition. You can get it as a digital file on their website. I think it's for $5, so it's quite cheap. And it's really funny. I'm sorry that it's all backwards. It's hard to do like front and back in the situation that we have here. So like if we shot it from the front camera, it would be forwards. But
yeah. Anyway,
it's really adorable. And it's funny, it's clever. I mean, their work is just really smart, and I don't know, there's like a quirkiness to it that's really engaging, which I think kind of relates to some of the work that you're showing. Like it has like a bit of a like folk fun edge, which invites people in, but then the conversation that's being had is really serious and intelligent and important. Yeah, and we just really love Jamie's work in general. They're doing a lot of like textile, well, I mean, I should double check this, but from the last time I saw them, they were doing a lot of textile based work and making patterns in these like really gorgeous like books of patterns.
Wow.
That were also hand printed, and quilting. So
Cool.
yeah, pretty diverse range of materials, but it was just really fun watching like an entire book be made in a week.
I bet. Can you, because it is, I can see the title, but could you read a couple of the pages just so I can see what the text says?
Yes, we can.
So this says,
sometimes that isn't.
something that isn't one thing or another, something in between.
This is like story time now.
Something that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. Something produced in a non-normative way or for non-normative purposes.
It's almost like a kid's book. It's so sweet.
Yeah. Something confusing or never seen before. Might be scary for some people. And this is like literally all hand printed. Look how beautiful.
That's amazing.
The like registration, and it's just so crisp. I just love it. Something that moves in a different direction. Something that tends toward other queer things. Something that leads to more questions than answers.
Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's kind of fascinating that it actually does read very much like a kid's picture book. And it could be if it weren't for probably the one page with the dildo. But otherwise.
I mean, we don't know what that is.
Yeah, true. True. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's our first share. Jamie Q.
Awesome.
Beautiful artist.
Awesome.
Really awesome work. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, well, I'll haul another one out. So here is...
We both so far have done printmaking. Good job.
I know. I think mine are going to be today, too. Sorry, guys. You know what I realized, too, actually, is, I mean, I don't have any of my own work up in our house. Well, that's not true. I have one print of mine in our house, and it's in my bathroom. So it's totally warped. Like, it's just something that was left over from a show a few years ago. And it's kind of a weird one to have in my house, if anything, because it's a portrait that I did of a woman who I really, really like. So, but it's kind of, I'll show you. It's kind of bizarre because it's right beside my mirror in the bathroom. And so it feels a little weird, like seeing her right beside my own reflection every day. I don't know if she knows that it's upstairs. I'm traumatized someone right now. But you can see it there. So it's hard to see here, but it's a portrait that I did in Texas outside Austin.
Oh, yeah.
A woman, Molly Leary, who's really a cool, kind of free-spirited. She lives outside of San Francisco now in the Gold Country, but it's her with her daughter when she was just a baby, who's now, I don't even know, like 3 or 4. And their dog in their garden at this magical little country property they lived in Texas at the time. But that's the only work of mine I have up in our house. And like I was saying, it's kind of weird, like, here, like this is, you know.
She's right there.
A little, yeah, she's right there. And like we kind of look alike, so I don't know if like what is that?
We have an etching in our bathroom by a past artist, and it is an etching of a vintage photograph of a family that they didn't even know, just like a random family, and they're kind of like ghostly and creepy looking, and they're also right beside our mirror, and they're all like making direct eye contact with you, like this row of like who knows who they are or where they're from or what their story is people.
I kind of like that though. We have that as well. Last little weird one. I have this vintage photograph that I got at a flea market.
Creepy.
I know, and I think it's like when you can kind of pay for your family to get your tourist shot. So it says Memphis, August 6, 1964, at the zoo, I guess the Memphis Zoo. But that's just amongst all of our dishware. So again, same thing. It's like every day kind of going about our day. All sorts of people who don't know that they're there. Somebody, somewhere.
Yeah, they're
their
just
grandchildren
hanging out in your house.
Meanwhile, I'm taking my mug from beside Grandpa every day.
Yeah.
Do you think it's weird that we have pictures of like families that we've never met? But, like, I don't think I have a picture of my mom or my brother or sister or
It's so
father
true.
or any family up in our house. But I
Me
have
neither.
random people living in my house. Weird.
Very possibly. I don't know. Very
I
possibly.
think I just like the aesthetics of the pictures that we have versus the aesthetics of pictures that
You know,
I
like
have.
1990s Sears portraits?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a lie. Sometimes they're great.
Give it like 20 more years and we'll think they're cool. It'll be
Yeah.
okay.
That's true.
Yeah.
So here's my next kind of real one, I guess, is some artwork by this amazing outsider artist, Howard Finster, who's passed away. He passed away in 2001.
yes.
Do you know him?
I went to a museum installation of his work. It's
amazing.
really good. Yeah.
I have a ton. I'm sorry I keep flipping around if this is disorienting, but I have a ton of his work. I went to his amazing, it's called Paradise Garden, which is his kind of outsider art center in Georgia, in rural Georgia, where he lived and died. And he, again, kind of in a similar way to the Abita Mystery House that I was talking about earlier, made this incredible compound with like bottles and found objects and artwork and painting everywhere, and did a lot of this really dense kind of work. Like this one, it's Martha and George Washington, and there's a lot of political themes, and I think that's Jimmy Carter in the corner. It looks like
so.
Yeah. Or maybe that would be Reagan, 1989. Who would that be? Bush? Canadian here, right? I don't know. One of them. Some president.
Yeah, it's a president.
It's some old Republican president.
Correct.
But anyways, he's doing some interesting stuff with politics and kind of issues like that. This is him. So Georgia Governor Joe Frank is presenting Howard Finster with the Governor's Award Medal. So he's made himself and immortalized this moment, which I love so much. This cool little guy on the left, that was him receiving his medal. And then there's a lot of religious themes as well, which is another thing that I think growing up completely secular, I have no hang-ups about. So I kind of am always weirdly drawn to religious iconography, and especially stuff like this that's kind of an old school preacher. I think I was on this guy when we first.
Yes.
So again, he's got some more of this kind of religious imagery. I think this one is actually supposed to be Jesus, which I kind of
I love this like this way so like flat, like very, very two-dimensional, and the text like integrated into parts of the body structure. He did that a lot.
Yeah.
No, internet, you're the worst.
I know, I'm back. Sorry. I think that was literally just my finger slipped and paused you. So it's just.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I love that about it too. The kind of like really flat 2D effect, and there's so much. Like, here's another example. What does it say at the bottom? Let your light go shine. But I love the look of his writing. Like, you can see at the bottom, like that kind of
Yeah.
beautiful style of writing. And there's so much just dense pattern and layers on layers on layers of imagery on everything. I'm just really with the place. So I'm a big fan of his, and I just basically, I went to his place, I think in 2015 maybe, to his place in Georgia, and I just bought a ton of them because I was so smitten. I think this was the first outsider art I actually really saw in this kind of style, which there's a lot out there that sometimes kind of overlaps, I would say, with some of the aesthetics he's using, with that colorful aesthetic and the flatness and that really dense text and pattern, and sometimes dealing with either pop culture figures or political icons or that kind of thing, religious iconography. But I've just been really smitten with those for years and then have never put them up anywhere. So
well,
I don't know.
I mean, you have quite a collection, so but you have a new place that you can put them up now.
Yeah,
so
maybe
that's helpful.
Yeah,
More space.
I think it's kind of a funny thing, right? Where I love them so much, but I mean, as you guys know well, it's an odd thing to decide to look at something every single day. Where I love them so much, and I think they're funny and great and brilliant, but I'm like, do I want a giant Jesus or George Washington in my house? I don't know. Maybe not. Is that for me? I don't know.
I think we're going to try to figure out how to do something more rotation based.
That's
so
cool.
that you don't have to commit to it forever.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
You want to grab Tanna's? All right. So our next one is... Yeah, maybe no, one light. Okay, so something that, like, one of the reasons why it's so many printmakers have these giant collections is because prints get traded, and we have more prints than we do anything else. Every once in a while, someone leaves us something that isn't a print. So this is like a sketch, like a pencil sketch, done by American artist Tanna Tucker, and I mean, I guess, like, I love when we get left prints, and I don't, like, discredit them at all. Like, they're beautiful, and it's so nice, but it's such, I guess, like, a common thing in printmaking to exchange prints that, like, not that we just expect to get one, but I guess, like, there's kind of this, you just trade prints. It just happens so much. But to get left a sketch feels, like, particularly special, because this is the only one. And a lot of work goes into something like this. So it feels really special to get left, like, a sketch. So Tanna, at the time, and I know that her story has changed a bit, like, in what she's writing about, but at the time, she was working on a graphic novel that was called... got finished, or if it turned into something new. Because... she is working on a new graphic novel, and since being at the residency has really started writing a lot. So she was doing a lot of, like, illustration, and now it's a lot more, like, writing and still illustration, but, like, the writing end has taken over in a bigger way, which is really cool. But yeah, her work is about sort of the Black diaspora, and she has this, like, Afro-futurist vibe to, like, how the narrative is displayed, and it's kind of creating, like, new mythologies of Black culture and Black history. So this is from a story that was looking at kind of the, like, Civil War space, and I don't know exactly what the new book is about, but yeah, it's like, it's a very feminist focused. It's looking at, like, Indigenous women and Black women, and just, yeah, they're really great visuals, great stories, trying to, like, retell myths and narratives, which I think is really valuable and important. And yeah, we got left this, like, wonderful sketch.
I love that idea of writing new mythology and writing kind of a new fantasy history.
Yeah.
That's extremely cool.
So,
wow.
I hope that this is reading. I can't tell what our internet is like. Okay.
Yeah.
It's hard when you, like, from back away, like, it's such a light sketch you can't see anything from over here, but
What's
yeah.
going on with the kind of like block shapes in the bottom, or do you know?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Cool.
when you look at Tanna's work, there's like sometimes a blending of figures with the space that they're in. So it's
those look like cards to me.
maybe tarot cards.
Tarot cards, like such as like the person is like pulling out a reading of some sorts.
That
like,
makes sense. Oh, totally.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
You can see like the little hand, all the rings. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just like getting sketches is such a lovely thing. And I think like the freedom of sketches and watching someone plan something out is such a unique part of our job, because you get all that like behind the scenes, like, I don't know, I feel very like lucky to be a part of that, because so often artists, it's nerve-wracking. I mean, you know, if you're like editing something or trying to put people into a space and you're like, I think this is gonna work, and if you feel very exposed to like your thought process and how I don't know, it's like clumsy sometimes, I guess is the best way that I can think of it, when you're like working through a plan, and we get to watch people just like work through their ideas and like hit those roadblocks or find those solutions or surprise themselves. And so, yeah, it's like, it is such a fun part of what we do to get that behind the scenes.
Absolutely. And I know what you mean too, that there is a preciousness that it's just one. I mean, I too work in a medium that's endlessly reproducible, like printmaking, because I mean, that would be it, right? I can send an image digitally, that can put it in print and do as many copies as I want, or I see it run in a print publication, and same thing. I don't know how many are out in the world, but there is something so precious, and maybe that's why I'm drawn to painting actually in the same way, is maybe some of that too, that there is that preciousness of like, maybe that was a one-off kind of casual thing. Like maybe that sketch was for her, it was just an idea, but it becomes a one-off treasured object for you.
Yeah.
And same thing maybe with these, if it's something that was a casual thing or somebody working something out in a class or a figure study. And to me now I enjoy looking at it every single day for years. So it's kind of this life that things can take on like that. But maybe all of us working in a medium that is endlessly reproducible, is endlessly shareable, there's something to be said for that concept of the original and the only of something that's really appealing.
Yeah.
I agree to that. Yeah. There is something very nice about something that is a unique item.
Yeah. Well, actually, my third one is a unique item. I just realized.
We didn't share prints.
I'm going to share two pieces actually by the same artist. So other than John Preble, who's still alive and working in Louisiana as far as I'm aware as of recently, although he's an old guy now, my friend Tanna Fusco is an artist living in California. She lives in like a surf town just south of LA. So this is a piece I bought from her a few years ago that's sort of these like just beautiful rules, I guess. She's just got an aesthetic way of speaking and thinking about things, and a lot of her work involves text, or again, this kind of like casualness. I'll read some maybe because it's hard to see. So it's
How is this made?
I don't actually know. I'm so bad that way. It's a print. This one's a print. The next one is original.
Okay.
I don't know. That's your territory. I'm outside my depth. But I just know that I really like it. It says, retrospect is dangerous. Do everything like a dog. Leave in peace. Self-govern based on need instead of want. Need very little. Candlelight is good for you. Think about how dark is dark. Don't interrupt. Help mom. Take yourself out of the equation sometimes. Show up. Think about boy child. Copying is important. Concept is pretentious. Think about if we don't, who will? A happy ending is important. Think about how's it going to end? But I love the way that she writes, and I love these phrases that it's.
Well, I love that it's like poetry, but done in like a really designed way, and then also maybe screen printed or Rezo, or I don't know if it's typeset.
Rezo seems right, because there's a little bit of layer of color to it.
Okay.
There's like a little bit of a colored shadow behind the words. So it's possible.
Yeah. Is she a writer?
I don't know if she would identify herself as a writer. She might, but I know that she's a beautiful writer. But yeah, but she mostly is working with visual art. But I'll show you. Sorry if it's annoying to go on a walk, but I'm going to do it one last time. I have.
I don't find it annoying. I don't know how other people feel about it.
Come with me. I have one other piece of hers just lives in my bedroom here in like a little special shrine. So it's kind of hard to see, but I don't know. Here, let me turn on another light. I'm a big fan of collections.
Oh, this is like a little shrine.
It's a little shrine. So actually this is John Preble again, that same artist from the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
So this is just a mini print of Robert Johnson. But I've got kind of all sorts of special little artwork. This is a print by an artist, James Evans, who's a photographer who works out of Big Bend in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the back of a cowboy's head. And then this one in here is Anna's. So I'll take it out so it's easier to see. But she does this series that I love where she collects vintage hotel notepads.
Okay.
And then just does these really simple, like, little drawings or phrases on these vintage notepads. And I think it's that, too, that I'm drawn to, that sense of it being kind of, it doesn't feel super precious, but it is super precious, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, there's something inherently so casual and disposable about those notepads from motels. So I'll show you kind of in better light. It's still in the plastic wrap. I can take it out if it's hard to see, but that's one that's waiting to be framed. But this is from a hotel in New Orleans. It says high five in the afterlife. But they're just like these perfect little phrases that I love. And there's something about the high five in the afterlife, just, I don't know, it being in New Orleans that just really does it for me. It's like that little kind of like spooky culture or something. I don't know.
I like that everything that you have has this sort of, there's a bit of like a nostalgic like level to it, and everything, yeah, kind of like you can sort of get yourself wrapped up into a history when you look at the work.
I can see that totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely am drawn to exactly that. Something that has a little bit of a story to it. And something that for me, you're exactly right. It's nostalgia, even if it's not from my own experience of something. There's some sort of inherent nostalgia or kind of tenderness or romance without it being literally romantic. Yeah. But evocative in that way, for sure. And I'm certainly drawn to work with text. I really like that. So I think that's something I responded to in the Howard Finster pieces. I love his little handwriting that comes through in this funny little crooked scrawl, and I can just picture him like he is in that self-portrait, this like great eccentric old man. I can just see it looks like, you know, my like great grandpa's old handwriting that just gets scribbly and crooked and great. Yeah. And I think that's honestly part of like, I love these pieces that Anna does with just a little bit of handwriting is so charming and perfect, and it's in pencil. Like I just, it's just perfect to me. So that's
I like it too because it's just like this non-archival, like you said, sort of throwaway cultural. And I mean, somebody designed those notepads. Like they're they're not like thoughtlessly created. And then they're like kept in your little like plastic with your backing and your tiny shrine. Yeah, I like that too.
I know. Eventually it'll be a frame, but maybe post-COVID. Now it's living in the plastic wrap.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I'm definitely drawn to that kind of, I think, the mix of it feeling not too precious, maybe something that was a throwaway, and there is that nostalgia. I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our last one, Kyle's working on something, so we thought we don't do this very often, but we would show like an in-process situation.
Wow, that's beautiful.
This is my printing proof. So like the green tape is because like I'm using this to register my screen print. But like this is on my doc for today, is to actually sit down and mix the colors to this project. So it is like a 5-color screen print. And this was like kind of like what I started and kind of finished at the beginning of COVID, and now it's like getting ready to go to print.
Wow. Kyle, it's amazing. It's so intricate.
Yeah, it is like I'm really, really enjoying it. I'm very tired of making little numbers in circular bubbles in Photoshop. But
Wow.
So
So wait,
yeah,
are you doing this digitally? Or you drew it and then
Yeah,
scanned
just-
it and are...
how did this one start? It's all I would say like I'm a digital collage artist. So everything's done in Photoshop by like stealing images from the internet and then compiling it as a composition. And then once I have something that's roughly there,
Yeah.
I will then redraw everything in Photoshop.
Oh.
And then I print it all off onto stencils, and then I burn them onto screens, and then I hand print the whole thing.
so yeah,
a lot
he
of
finds
steps, my friend.
yeah. Right? So yeah,
Wow.
he like finds just like machine parts and drawings of like I don't know how things are constructed, and then he like builds all these different versions of those, and then draws out like once a composition is sort of made, then he'll he doesn't hand draw it on hand, but he hand draws it with a Wacom tablet.
Yeah, like
Wow.
example, like this, the girl that sits in the middle. I think like the body is like originally one part of an image, but I think it's a new foot that I put on it. The head is completely different. The hair is different. I changed the hands out, and then I cut her in half, and then separated her, and stuck in some like machine bits that might imply something like she's a robot.
Wow. Also a bit of like the Black Dahlia moment, right? Wasn't she cut in half, that body?
I do not know this story. What is this story?
It's like a famous 1930s Hollywood murder. Somebody else will probably chime in at some point maybe and know, but I'm pretty sure that when they found her body, that was part of it, was that she had been sliced in half. She was like an aspiring actress in Hollywood in the 1930s. It was this huge legendary murder case. And her body
what was her
split
name?
into two.
I gotta read this now.
That's not her name, but that's the name.
Her
of
name
the
was
story.
Elizabeth Short. But there's this whole kind of conspiracy theory that it was basically, they think that the guy who did it was very good friends with Man Ray and was inspired by
weird.
surrealist art. And that's part of why he arranged the body in that way. So that, anyways, we should all do a Google and find out if that's true. I might just be totally off base, but that's what it made me think of as well.
Yeah, not my intention, but you know.
I mean, it's not necessarily a bad association. It's interesting.
No.
I mean, I think maybe talk about your intention.
My intention with like robots and people. I don't know. There's always been like part of me that I've been very interested in this kind of evolution of persons moving into like we're moving into like a technology age. Things like cybernetic enhancements are a real thing, and that kind of stuff. Like, I'm really interested in that. I grew up on like Star Trek and Star Wars. I grew up as like a little nerd kid, and so like I'm very excited. Like, if I could become a robot, I would like to become a robot.
Really?
Please and thank you. Yes. If I could live past my 100 years, I will live past my 100 years as a robot. I will happily do that.
Wow.
But there's like a lot of anxiety that I have about like death, and I find that like making work about like cybernetic improvements or the extension of life and through machines and technology, I'm really interested in that. I don't know if I would choose to become a robot. Yes, I would.
But yeah,
Would you ever do like one of those tech implants that you can do? Have you like do you know about
biohack?
Like a
Mhm.
bot. At the state that they're in right now, no. But like, I don't know, like maybe one day, like if they could make me like better eyes or something like that, that'd be pretty neat.
Totally.
Or, you know, if they could fix my asthma, I'd be like, totally 100%. Give me some like mechanical lungs,
Yeah.
because my asthma ones are terrible. But I thought I'd show you.
Oh yeah.
So these are all the stencils that come off of
Oh,
this.
wow.
So each one is broken down into a different layer. So this is like the very first layer, which is this background light pink.
So it's a layer for every color.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That was a fail.
This layer is kind of the machine color blue that sits behind all of the little bits of technology.
Wow.
Right? I believe this would be the next color that's printed, which is a very like light yellow. It doesn't look as good as my computer screen does, but this is like the body parts that are being printed printed in that background color. There is like a blue outline to all the machine bits, which will be printed from this stencil.
Very cool.
And then this would be like the outline to all of the organic bits. So the outline of the woman, or things that represent organs or feel like organs. And then there's just like this nonsense page, which is going to be black. And this is like all those little tiny diagram numbers that you find in like instruction books and manuals.
It's going to be obnoxious to print.
That'll be good.
It's amazing to have to separate it out that way.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine the kind of mental gymnastics of having to conceive of all those different layers and be able to picture it before you can actually see it all together. That's so...
It's weird. It's like very much you kind of start walking into the forest of creation, and you don't know what you're going to get until you're already halfway through, and then you realize what you're making. So like so much of like making art for me is like this. Okay, what's in my pile of resources? These pictures, cool. How do they smash together? Okay, and then slowly build and develop it. I think it's really rare for me to like wake up one morning and be like, I know exactly how this print is going to look and shape and feel. Like it is very much an organic process of developing imagery and resources and combining them together and then seeing what comes out of it and then exploring that and building, and then eventually you're like, yes, it's done. Stop touching it, Kyle. Go away.
What? Is that challenging to know when to stop?
Oh, heck yes. Well, like, I'm pretty sure I just go until it's too full, and then Chrissy says it's too full, and then I stop.
That's probably when I'd like it the most. It's really beautiful. That's really impressive, and it's so cool to see all your layers and how you're doing it. That's really cool.
Yeah, we haven't shown any of our like work in progress or any of our art. And
we have an aversion to it. I don't know why, but like we never want to talk about our own stuff.
I
want
get
to
it.
share everybody else's stuff.
It
It's hard to do.
Yeah, but yeah, those are our three shares.
Yes.
For this week.
Awesome. That
And
is really
I loved
great.
yours. Those,
Thanks.
I mean, that New Orleans artist, I just love relief print, so that's a fun one to learn about. And I hadn't seen, I forget the other guy's name, but I hadn't seen them as, I saw mostly
Howard
sculptures, and actual version is really cool too.
Yeah, they're really quite pretty.
And now I want a whole collection of the like note card.
Well,
drawings.
she sells them on her website.
Yeah.
Very amazing. I'll send and she's active on Instagram, and she posts a lot of her work on Instagram as she does it. So that's a cool way to keep up with her. So I'll send you the names of everybody that I mentioned and any websites or social media or whatever, if there's a way to share that.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Arden.
So
Yeah, it
nice
was
to
lovely
see you
chatting
guys.
with you.
That was really
Yeah.
fun. Thank you.
Have a super good weekend. Mwah.
Thank you. Mwah.
Thanks
Talk to you
everybody
later.
that's been here. Yeah. Bye.
We'll catch you all
Bye.
next week. Bye.
Bye.